The sort of goal, I think, for this project was to sort of just bring about like awareness of body shaming and eating disorders on college campuses, but like specifically the USC campus.
These problems and this negativity towards self and body image were very toxic, and we wanted to change this idea, and we came up with beYOUtiful.
For me, growing up, it was a lot about like being kind of teased for being skinny, and like I was kind of bullied when I was a kid, but I kind of grew into myself and realized that I am beautiful just the way that I am, and it doesn't matter like what others say about me, and that I have control over the way that I view my body, and that it doesn't really matter what society thinks. So Alexis and I kind of decided to come up with beYOUtiful to show other people that.
We noticed a lot of body image issues just in our own communities on campus that really needed this kind of therapy almost, through like discovering like your self-awareness of what your body looks like and how you feel about it, and how you should be positive about these things that it gives you.
I think the inspiration kind of came to me when I was a freshman, and I was a pledge in OFIA. They did this project called Beauty Marks, where they tabled on Green Street, and they kind of had people come up and write what their idea of beYOUtiful was on a whiteboard, and they would just like hold it up, and they made this video of that, and I really liked that, but I think Alexis and I really wanted to expand on what beauty is and kind of shift it more towards body image.
I remember in middle school, you were always, like lots of girls were concerned about boys and what your body was gonna do, and I was always concerned about soccer. And I never really saw that attention and never really got that beYOUtiful idea until I got to high school, and a lot of the women in my life were very confident in themselves and who they were. I wanted to show that to my high school girls and to like the young people around me, because I was privileged enough to have that support system. And I think during this project with Olivia, we've seen that a lot of girls don't have that same support sometimes, and being a support system as myself, or as me and Olivia, or as a Omega Phi Alpha in general, was really awesome to see.
So we did a series of small projects, kind of hoping to make some sort of an impact in this way in the community. One of the projects that we did involved passing out sticky notes throughout the campus. Each sticky note had a body positive message on it. Some of these things that people wrote were, "There's no wrong way to have a body," and "Your weight doesn't measure your worth." The goal was to try to spread a message of self-love as far as possible across the college campus.
We saw the sticky notes in so many different places, on social media, on mirrors. People kept telling me like, "Did you see these sticky notes in class, or you see them on campus?" I was like, yeah, like that's OFIA. So it's great to see all of those things and just getting our organization's name out there.
As women, we're pretty much trained from childhood to think that it's socially inappropriate to love ourselves, and that this is considered narcissistic. I've never even really heard older women in my life say that they love their body, or that they're really feeling good about the skin that they're in. So I think that that plays a huge role and like an impact on kids growing up.
And she said, I never remember my mother saying that she loved her body. And so we as women, like, we don't hear other women say, like, I am proud of my body, I love my body. And I think children pick up on that, and they start to see parts of themselves that they don't like, or they start to see things that aren't what they think, people would like about them. And so having women in front of them to say things like, I am proud of my body,
Yes.
I love my body, I think that is so important for people to hear positive messages about our body, and not what we're wanting to change or what we're wanting to work on about our bodies, but instead of just being like, I'm proud of this, I love this, and I nourish it because I want it to help me to achieve my dreams.
About 60% of my cases are all eating disorder cases here, and I see 300 a semester. So that tells you a lot right there. However, we're not able to see just as many men. For some reason, they're more reluctant to come in. It's not talked about very often, or they might have disordered eating that's accepted in their population or their group of friends. About 33% of women in college age, in the college age realm, suffer from disordered eating or eating disorders, and 23% of men. Now, this is a much higher than what it was back in like 2002, where it was like only 20% of women and 5% of men. So we are seeing an increase in disordered eating on campuses.
High school girls, I coach at Heathwood Hall. I saw their own insecurities that I never really understood, never really saw growing up, and I really wanted to make a difference in that way. We're here at Heathwood Hall Episcopal School today. I work with the varsity and JV soccer team here, and we have them going through a bunch of series of activities that Olivia and I came up with to help them with body positivity and team bonding skills. One activity over there where they're going through like a minefield and they kind of have to like navigate and use teamwork skills. And then at the end we're gonna read a couple stories about people who have overcome eating disorders.
That drive for success that's kind of driven in us at a young age, and we don't really ever get time to kind of find ourselves or anything, because it's always about achieving more. It kind of just feeds into that idea of like, how can I make myself better, as opposed to like, how can I develop a satisfying or fulfilling life. It's all about achieving, and so that mindset can drive people to needing to achieve the thinness.
And Western society, it's the thin ideal. It focuses on appearance in Western society. And even when you start having billboards of thin people in islanders, like in the South Pacific, you'll start to see young girls that have body dissatisfaction when they start seeing other images. So it's those images being very, very powerful.
Another activity where we're doing like a banner painting. We live in this like really weird social climate where it's normal to bond over things that we hate about our bodies, and like it's just this kind of domino effect when we're hanging out with our friends and they talk about bad things about their bodies, and then you talk about bad things about your own body, and then it just kind of snowballs into this ridiculous conversation. And I think that it's really important that we shift the conversation away from the negative things about ourselves and more towards like our actual qualities and what our bodies can do for us.
And the importance is to say that what makes you beautiful, and that you can say that out loud to others and truly mean it.
Some of the hardest questions that patient can't answer it is I say, tell me 10 things that you like about yourself, and have it where it's not appearance, and they can't answer. They can't tell us 10 positive things about themselves as a person. It's very hard to do.
Yeah. We have a compliment card station. Basically, the girls are encouraged to write compliments about each other and fill up an entire note card. They can keep them on the car dashboard, they can keep them in their binders, just as reminders that
these people think these things about you, and you should be able to think them about yourself.
I think that we have to set the example, because I think one of the problems is people aren't comfortable. Like, people feel like, oh, I can't say that about myself. But like, we need to be proud, you know, like we have to set the example of being proud and like okay with that. And I think other women or like girls would love that. Like, I think we want to see other women proud of their bodies.
For people in the athletic community loving their strength that they show on like women's national teams and Serena Williams and those kind of stuff. And then we've seen it in models and like companies that are now kind of taking part of this body image movement, which is really cool.
One thing we're trying to change in the healthcare industry is changing the paradigm of healthcare providers by looking at a patient's weight as an indicator of their health.
Like
because studies don't show that. Studies do not show overweight people actually live longer than thin people. So changing that for when a provider might say, well, your BMI is above a certain number, so I'm sending you to the dietitian. No, your BMI might be above a certain number because you lift weights, or your family has a larger BMI, but if you don't have high cholesterol, you don't have high blood pressure, you're active, you don't have a diet high in salt, don't worry about it. So it's called health at every size. So that's what we're trying to change in the healthcare industry.
Once we recognize this, we have a responsibility in our own selves to do something about it, to, when we notice that talk, to speak up against it. And when we really think about how much time society wants us to think about our bodies and how much time they want us to think about calories and what we should be eating, how much brain space it's stealing and keeping us, even as women, kind of behind, honestly, because we're thinking so much about this and we're not where we could be, you know,
reaching
making
for the glass ceiling.
Yeah,
we can't reach for it because we're down here looking at our, you know, thighs.
And so it really steals away what we could be giving the world and like making change. And so kind of almost developing almost an anger towards the diet industry and getting angry at it for what it's taking from us as women, especially feeding on us and preying on us, because they're the people who benefit from the thin ideal.
But the newest program that we have is called the Body Project. So it is designed to be directed towards cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is basically, another word for that is an uncomfortable state. We used to deal with eating disorders by scaring people and telling them all of the bad things that can happen to your body if you have an eating disorder. We realize that doesn't work. The scare tactics don't work. But instead, if we reduce the buy-in for the thin ideal with people, so if we reduce that buy-in that the thin ideal doesn't really help, it's only created by the ad industry, it's fake pictures, they're photoshopped, the cosmetic industry only wants to sell their products. So if we start to do that, it makes women uncomfortable with even dieting anymore. It makes women uncomfortable if they talk about a girl's looks. And so if they start to do that, then change happens. And so when change happens inside through the cognitive dissonance, then they stop the dieting, which always leads to disordered eating.
I think that's what body positivity is about, is changing the way that society views women and kind of taking control of the bodies that we're given. So just like talking positively about our bodies is one of the best ways that we can say thank you to it.
By making this pledge, I am promising to embrace my own beauty
and to spread the practice of loving myself and one another for the true beauty in all of us.
My handprint represents this promise and challenges me to combat both mind and body shaming that exists among us.
We each are truly beautiful.
Each of us are truly beautiful.
We are each truly beautiful.
You are each truly beautiful. We are all truly beautiful.
We each are truly beautiful.